Have you ever wondered why foreclosures seem so confusing, especially when you're trying to navigate the world of overages and surplus funds? If you're like most people, foreclosures weren't taught you in a way that truly makes sense, let alone in a way that helps you as an asset locator. But here's the real question. Why does understanding foreclosures matter so much for your business? What's the connection no one is talking about? You might think the basics are enough. After all, foreclosures are just about missed payments, right? Wrong. The real foundation of overages lies in understanding the different types of foreclosures and their nuances. But here's the catch. This critical topic is almost never explained in a way that's practical or tailored to asset locators. And that's where the trouble starts. Navigating these complexities can feel overwhelming. Why does this matter to you? Because without a clear understanding, conversations with claimants can become frustrating dead ends. Research becomes a maze of incomplete information. Filing claims feels overwhelming and full of unnecessary roadblocks. And that's not the worst part. Most asset locators don't even realize what they're missing until they hit these challenges head-on. So why is this knowledge gap so common? Could it be that foreclosures are simply too complex to explain in a straightforward way? Not quite. The problem isn't that foreclosures are impossible to understand. It's that no one has broken them down in a way that directly benefits asset locators working the overages business. And without this clarity, it's no surprise that many feel confused, helpless, and struggle to gain traction in their business. But here's the exciting part. Once you understand foreclosures in the right way, everything changes. You'll not only gain confidence when talking to claimants, but you also unlock smarter ways to conduct research and file claims. You'll move past the confusion and start thriving in your business. Not only will we dive into the complexities of foreclosures, but we'll also tackle and debunk common misconceptions that hold many asset locators back. These misconceptions can cloud your understanding of the process and prevent you from seeing the bigger picture. Let's break down foreclosure processes in a way that's tailored to you as an asset locator. We'll uncover the insights that can transform your approach to overages, and more importantly, your results. The easiest way to understand each type of foreclosure is by breaking it down into 4 key categories. 1. What measures does a foreclosing entity take to initiate the process in the event of a default? 2. What are the phases of the foreclosure process in the event of non-payment? 3. How do state laws play a role in shaping the process? 4. What other key insights do you need to know as an asset locator? Using this framework, let's break down each of the 2 main types of foreclosures and how they impact asset locators. Mortgage foreclosures explained. 1. What measures does the foreclosing entity take to initiate the process in the event of default of mortgage payments? When you take out a loan, the property acts as collateral, meaning the lender can sell it to recover their money if you can't repay. A mortgage is a legal agreement you sign when getting a loan to buy property. It gives the lender a claim on the property as security for the loan. This means if you don't repay the loan as agreed, the lender can take the property to recover their money. Just like a mortgage lien, a trust deed or deed of trust is another type of agreement used in some states instead of a mortgage. It involves 3 parties: the borrower, the lender, and a neutral third party called a trustee. The trustee holds the title to the property as security for the loan until it's paid off. A common misconception is that the lender directly holds the title. In reality, the trustee is the one holding it. And if you don't repay the loan, the trustee can sell the property on behalf of the lender to recover the debt. A mortgage lien is the legal claim or encumbrance the lender has on the borrower's property as security for the mortgage loan. A mortgage lien gives the lender the legal right to sell your property if you don't repay your loan. The lender must follow a legal process called foreclosure before they can sell the property. This process varies by state and often gives the borrower time to fix the issue or repay the debt before the property is sold. Liens or claims are debts tied to a property. For example, if you owe money to a lender, contractor, or the government, they can place a lien on your property as a way to secure repayment. You still own the property, but the lien gives the creditor a legal right to be paid. It's like a hold on the property until the debt is settled. 2. What are the phases of the foreclosure process in the event of non-payment of mortgages? A default happens when someone doesn't follow the terms of their loan agreement, usually by missing payments. A common misconception is that a single missed payment automatically leads to foreclosure, potentially resulting in overages. In reality, most lenders allow some time to catch up before taking serious action. However, repeated missed payments or failure to address the issue can lead to more severe consequences, like foreclosure or legal action. Foreclosure is the legal process lenders use to take ownership of a property when a borrower stops paying their loan. There are two main types: judicial and non-judicial foreclosure. The difference depends on the state. Here is the difference. Judicial foreclosure. In some states, lenders must go to court to get approval before selling the property. This process can take longer because it involves filing a lawsuit and waiting for a judge's decision. Non-judicial foreclosure. In other states, lenders don't need court approval. They can follow a set of state-specific rules, like notifying the borrower and filing certain documents, to sell the property more quickly. 3. How do state laws play a role in shaping the process of mortgage foreclosures? The mortgagee, meaning the lender, always has certain rights to the property as security for the loan. These rights depend on the state's laws and can take three different forms. 1. Lien states. In most states, the lender has a lien on the property. This means they don't own the property but can force its sale through foreclosure if the borrower doesn't repay the loan. 2. Title states. In some states, the lender actually holds the legal title to the property until the loan is paid off. The borrower still has the right to live in and use the property, but technically, the lender holds ownership until the debt is cleared. 3. Combination states. Some states use a hybrid approach where the lender's rights depend on whether the borrower defaults. A common misconception is that the lender only has one form of right to ensure they can recover their money. Confusion also arises because it's possible for a state to use non-judicial foreclosure for mortgages and judicial foreclosure for tax liens. Here's why. Mortgage foreclosures. Non-judicial process. Some states allow lenders to foreclose on a property without involving the courts. This is typically done when the mortgage includes a power of sale clause, which allows the lender to sell the property in the event of default, following specific procedures outlined by state law. These states aim to streamline the foreclosure process for mortgages to make it faster and less expensive. Tax foreclosures. Judicial process. Tax foreclosures, on the other hand, often involve court proceedings, because the government or tax authority must establish the legal basis for taking the property. The process ensures due process for the property owner, as the government entity is involved in collecting unpaid taxes. Even in states where mortgage foreclosures are non-judicial, tax foreclosures may require court approval to ensure the legality of seizing and selling a property due to unpaid taxes. Why the difference? The distinction often comes down to the type of debt. Mortgage foreclosure is a private contract issue between a borrower and a lender, which can sometimes bypass the courts. Tax foreclosure, which can also result in overages and surplus funds, involves public obligations, like property taxes, which often require more formal court involvement to protect the rights of all parties. Here is a helpful analogy to help you better understand the roles. In a non-judicial foreclosure, the equivalent of a sheriff's sale is typically called a trustee sale. Here's how it compares. Trustee sale in non-judicial foreclosure. A trustee, who is a neutral third party, manages the foreclosure process instead of the court or a sheriff. The trustee oversees the sale of the property at a public auction, following the procedures set out in state law and the terms of the deed of trust. The auction is held after the lender has provided all required notices, such as the notice of default and notice of sale, to the borrower. Key differences between a trustee sale and sheriff sale. 1. Court involvement. In a sheriff sale, as in judicial foreclosure, the court supervises the process, and the sale is conducted by a court officer, typically the sheriff. In a trustee sale, as in non-judicial foreclosure, the process is handled privately, without court oversight. 2. Who conducts the sale? A sheriff sale is managed by the local law enforcement, the sheriff's office. A trustee sale is conducted by the trustee named in the deed of trust, often a law firm or specialized foreclosure trustee. 3. Timeline. Trustee sales generally happen faster than sheriff sale because there's no need to go through the court system. Here is another common source of confusion. A deed of trust is used in some states instead of a traditional mortgage, and it involves 3 parties, which can be confusing. Here's how it works. 1. The borrower or trustor. This is the person who takes out the loan and agrees to repay it. 2. The lender or beneficiary. This is the entity providing the loan, such as a bank or financial institution. 3. The trustee. This is a neutral third party who holds the legal title to the property in trust until the borrower pays off the loan. Why it's confusing? Unlike a traditional mortgage, which involves only the borrower and the lender, a deed of trust adds the trustee. People often misunderstand the trustee's role, thinking the trustee is the lender, but they're actually there to handle the foreclosure process if the borrower defaults. A deed of trust is also tied to non-judicial foreclosures, which means if you don't pay, the trustee can sell the property at a foreclosure auction without the court getting involved. This can make the process faster, but it also confuses people who are used to the idea of court-supervised foreclosures. 4. What other key insights do you need to know as an asset locator for mortgages? What is interest? Interest is the cost of borrowing money, the fee a lender charges for using their funds. When you make monthly loan payments, part goes toward interest and part toward the principal or the amount you borrowed. Early in the loan term, most of your payment goes toward interest because it's calculated based on the remaining loan balance. What is the difference between a home equity loan and a reverse mortgage? A home equity loan and a reverse mortgage both let you use the value of your home to access cash, but they work very differently, and that's where confusion often comes in. Here's the difference between the two. Home equity loan. This is like a second mortgage. You borrow money based on the equity you've built in your home, which is the value of your home minus any outstanding mortgage balance. You get a lump sum or a line of credit, but you're required to make regular monthly payments to pay it back, just like your primary mortgage. Reverse mortgage is designed for homeowners aged 62 or older. Instead of making payments, you receive money from the lender, either as a lump sum, monthly payments, or a line of credit. The loan doesn't have to be repaid until you move out of the home, sell it, or pass away. It's essentially a way to convert your home equity into income during retirement. Misconception. Many people think a reverse mortgage is just another type of loan like a home equity loan, but it's different because there are no monthly payments, and it's aimed at retirees. On the other hand, some think you can use a reverse mortgage at any age, which isn't true. It's specifically for older homeowners. What is an amortization schedule? A mortgage principal and interest breakdown table, often called an amortization schedule, shows how your monthly payments are divided between paying off the loan amount, the principal, and the cost of borrowing, the interest. It also tracks how much of your loan balance is left after each payment. Here is misconception: proportional payments. A common misconception is that your payment is evenly split between principal and interest throughout the loan term. In reality, early payments are mostly interest because it's calculated on the remaining balance. Over time, as the balance decreases, more of your payment goes toward the principal. In other words, the principal portion starts small and gradually increases as the interest portion decreases. Why does it help to know this? The mortgage principal and interest breakdown table can also assist with surplus funds research by showing how much of your loan balance was paid off at any given time. There are free calculators available online that allow you to enter some basic details about the mortgage, and it will generate the table for you. What is the right of redemption? The right of redemption allows a borrower to reclaim their property by paying off the debt, even after they've defaulted on their loan. A common source of confusion is when this right applies, as it varies by state. Here is why. In some states, borrowers have the right to redeem their property before the foreclosure sale. This means that they can stop the foreclosure process by paying the full amount they owe, including fees and interest. In other states, borrowers have a right of redemption after the foreclosure sale. Even if the property has been sold, they may have a limited time to pay off the debt and reclaim their property. This debunks the misconception that many people believe, which is that they always lose their property as soon as it's foreclosed on. In states with a post-sale redemption period, they may still have a chance to get it back, but they must act within the specified time frame and pay the full amount owed. What is the term of the loan? The term of the loan is the length of time you have to repay it, such as 15, 20, or 30 years. What are notices? Notices are official warnings that a lender sends when a borrower falls behind on payments and foreclosure may happen. The process and type of notice depend on whether the state follows judicial or non-judicial foreclosure rules. Here is the difference. Judicial foreclosure. In states that use judicial foreclosure, the lender must file a lawsuit to start the process. The borrower receives a legal notice, often called a notice of complaint or summons, which informs them about the court case and gives them a chance to respond. Non-judicial foreclosure. In non-judicial foreclosure states, the process doesn't go through the courts. The lender sends a notice of default to warn the borrower they're behind on payments. If the borrower doesn't resolve the issue, they get a notice of sale, telling them the property will be sold at auction. Misconception. Many people think all foreclosures involve court proceedings, but non-judicial foreclosures skip the courts and usually move faster. While notices in mortgage foreclosures are crucial for informing borrowers of their situation and outlining their options, the foreclosure process for unpaid property taxes follows a different path. Tax foreclosures, which result from delinquent property tax payments, involve unique procedures and legal steps that vary by jurisdiction, particularly in relation to overages and surplus funds. Let's dive into how tax foreclosures are initiated and managed, starting with the measures taken by the foreclosing entity in the event of property tax default. Tax foreclosures explained. 1. What measures does the foreclosing entity take to initiate the process in the event of default of property taxes? What happens if you don't pay your real estate taxes? If a property owner, whether an individual or a business, fails to pay their real estate or property taxes, the local government, often referred to as the city or municipality, will take steps to collect the owed amount. One of the primary legal actions taken by the city is the placement of a lien on the property, which serves as a legal claim to secure the unpaid taxes and ensures that the government has the right to recover the debt before the property can be sold or refinanced. What are tax lien certificates, tax liens, tax deeds, redeemable deeds, and redemption deeds? What are tax lien certificates? A tax lien certificate, not be confused with a tax lien, is a financial instrument issued by a local government when a property owner fails to pay their property taxes. As we will see later, a tax lien is a government's claim on the property, whereas a tax lien certificate is a financial product sold to investors representing that claim. How it works. The local government auctions tax lien certificates to investors, allowing them to pay the delinquent taxes on behalf of the property owner. In return, the property owner is obligated to repay the investor the amount paid, plus interest, which is set by local laws and can vary. If the property owner fails to repay the debt within a specified redemption period, the investor may gain the right to foreclose on the property, potentially leading to ownership. What is a tax lien? A tax lien is a legal claim imposed by the government on a property when the owner fails to pay property taxes. It serves as a security for the unpaid tax debt. How it works. When property taxes go unpaid, the local government, such as a city or county, places a lien on the property. This lien ensures that the government has a right to collect the owed taxes before the property can be sold or refinanced. A common misconception is that a tax lien and a tax lien certificate are the same thing. In reality, they are distinct entities. A tax lien is the government's claim on a property when the owner fails to pay property taxes, serving as security for the unpaid debt. In contrast, a tax lien certificate is a financial product sold to investors, representing that claim. While the lien itself remains with the government until the debt is paid, the certificate is held by an investor who has purchased the lien, entitling them to repayment with interest or potential foreclosure rights if the debt is not settled. What are tax deeds? A tax deed is a legal document that transfers ownership of a property from the delinquent taxpayer to the buyer following a tax sale, usually after the redemption period has expired without repayment. Most overages cases arise from this type of deed. How it works. If property taxes remain unpaid and are not redeemed, the property is sold at a tax deed auction. During this process, the highest bidder at the auction receives the deed, which transfers full ownership of the property to them. What is the difference between redemption deeds and redeemable deeds? The terms redemption deed and redeemable deed are typically associated with different foreclosure contexts, mortgage foreclosures, and tax foreclosures, respectively. The confusion arises because they are similar sounding. Here's a breakdown to clarify the difference. Redemption deed is used in mortgage foreclosure contexts. A redemption deed is used in the context of mortgage foreclosures and involves the original borrower or homeowner reclaiming ownership of the property after curing their mortgage debt. How it works. After defaulting on a mortgage, the homeowner may have a statutory right of redemption, which allows them to reclaim their property by paying off the entire debt, including principal, interest, and fees before the foreclosure sale, or in some states, even after the foreclosure sale. If the homeowner redeems the property, they retain ownership under their original deed, and in some cases, a redemption deed might be issued to formally document the resolution of the debt and the reinstatement of ownership. Key purpose. It finalizes the redemption process and acknowledges the owner's full repayment of the mortgage debt. Redeemable deeds as used in tax foreclosure contexts. Usage. A redeemable deed is specific to tax foreclosure contexts and is common in jurisdictions like Texas and Georgia. This deed is issued to a buyer at a tax sale, but includes a conditional period during which the original property owner can redeem the property. How it works. At a tax sale, the buyer receives a redeemable deed, which provides conditional ownership. The original owner has a legally defined redemption period to pay the delinquent taxes, interest, and fees. If the original owner redeems the property, the buyer is compensated with a purchase price plus statutory interest. If the redemption period expires without repayment, the redeemable deed converts into full ownership for the buyer. Key purpose. It grants provisional ownership rights to the buyer, subject to the original owner's right of redemption. In short, a redemption deed is tied to mortgage foreclosures and documents the reinstatement of ownership after a borrower redeems their property by paying off the mortgage. A redeemable deed is tied to tax foreclosures and grants conditional ownership to a buyer at a tax sale, subject to the original owner's right to redeem. 2. What are the phases of the foreclosure process in the event of non-payment of property taxes? What are due dates and delinquent dates? Due date. The due date is the specific date by which property taxes must be paid to avoid penalties. Paying by the due date ensures that you remain in good standing with the local government and avoid additional charges or legal actions. For example, if the due date for property taxes is April 15th, you must ensure that the payment reaches the municipality by that date to prevent penalties and ultimately foreclosure, which could potentially result in overages and surplus funds. Delinquent date. The delinquent date is the date after the due date when property taxes are considered late or delinquent. Once taxes become delinquent, penalties, interest, and additional fees may begin to accrue, and the local government may initiate legal actions to collect the unpaid taxes. For example, if the due date is April 15th and the delinquent date is May 1st, any taxes not paid by April 15th will be considered delinquent starting May 1st. Understanding default taxes. What are default taxes? Default taxes refer to taxes that have not been paid by their due date and are considered in default. When a taxpayer, whether individual or business, fails to pay their taxes on time, the owed amount becomes delinquent, and the tax authority may classify these unpaid taxes as being in default. Default status. When taxes are in default, it means they are significantly overdue, and the taxpayer has not addressed the unpaid amount despite reminders or notices from the tax authority. Consequences. Defaulting on taxes can lead to various penalties, interest charges, and legal actions aimed at recovering the unpaid taxes. 3. How do state laws play a role in shaping the process for property taxes? Understanding unpaid real estate taxes and state laws. Each state has its own laws and regulations that dictate the procedures and consequences for unpaid real estate taxes, outlining the steps that taxing authorities and property owners must follow in such situations. Redemption rights. Redemption periods during which property owners can reclaim their property by paying overdue taxes, interest, and fees are defined by state law. In some states, owners have the right to redeem their property before the foreclosure sale by settling their debts. In others, a redemption period is allowed even after the property has been sold at auction, with the length of this period varying widely, often ranging from 30 days to several years. Notification requirements. State laws dictate how and when property owners must be notified of delinquent taxes and potential foreclosure. Taxing authorities may be required to send notices via certified mail, publish them in local newspapers, or post them on the property. The timeline for issuing these notices and the period allowed for the property owner to respond also varies depending on the state's regulations. Tax lien versus tax deed states. States establish whether unpaid property taxes lead to a tax lien or a tax deed process. In tax lien states, a lien is placed on the property for the unpaid taxes and sold to investors, requiring the property owner to repay the lien amount plus interest to prevent foreclosure. In tax deed states, ownership of the property transfers directly to the taxing authority or the highest bidder at an auction if the taxes remain unpaid. As mentioned earlier, most of the surplus funds arise from tax deed states. Timeline for foreclosure. The time frame for foreclosing on a property due to unpaid taxes is determined by state law and can vary significantly. For instance, some states permit foreclosure after just 1 year of unpaid taxes, while others require 2 or more years to pass before initiating the foreclosure process. Rules for public auctions. State laws play a crucial role in governing the foreclosure auction process, including how auctions are conducted and the requirements for bidding. Auctions may be held in person or online, with specific rules varying by state. Additionally, some states establish minimum bid requirements based on the amount of taxes owed, while others allow competitive bidding to determine the final sale price of the property. 4. What other key insights do you need to know as an asset locator about property taxes? What are real estate taxes? Real estate taxes, often referred to as property taxes, are fees that homeowners and property owners pay based on the assessed value of their real estate, including homes, buildings, and land. These taxes are collected by local governments or municipalities and are used to fund a variety of essential public services. How do municipalities use these taxes? The money collected from real estate taxes is used to fund essential public services that benefit the community. These services include public safety, such as police, fire departments, and emergency response teams, education, including local schools and educational programs, and infrastructure, such as road maintenance, public transportation, parks, and libraries. Real estate taxes also support utilities like water supply, sewage systems, and waste management, as well as community development projects aimed at improving local amenities and enhancing the quality of life for residents. What is assessed value? The assessed value is the dollar amount assigned to a property by a municipal assessor and serves as the basis for calculating the real estate taxes that the property owner must pay. This assessment takes into account factors such as the property's market value, size, location, condition, and any improvements such as renovations or additions. Understanding the tax cycle in real estate taxes. What is the tax cycle? The tax cycle refers to the series of steps and timelines that govern how real estate or property taxes are assessed, billed, paid, and managed by both the property owner and the taxing authorities, such as the city or municipality. Understanding the tax cycle helps businesses stay compliant, avoid penalties, and effectively plan their finances. Here is the timeline for the 6 key stages of the tax cycle, from the start to foreclosure. 1. Assessment. The local government determines the value of your property by assessing factors such as its size, location, condition, and current market trends. These property assessments typically take place annually or every few years, depending on the regulations set by local authorities. 2. Notification. After the property assessment, the taxing authority issues tax bills that detail the amount owed, calculated based on the assessed value at the current tax rate. These tax bills also specify the due dates by which payments must be made to avoid penalties or additional charges. 3. Payment. Property taxes can typically be paid in installments, such as quarterly or biannually, or as a lump sum by the due date. Taxpayers are usually offered multiple payment methods, including online payments, checks, or automatic bank drafts, to make the process more convenient. 4. Delinquency. If property taxes are not paid by the due date, they become delinquent, resulting in penalties and interest charges. The delinquent date marks the point when a tax payment is officially considered late, prompting further actions by the taxing authority to recover the unpaid amount. 5. Collection actions. When property taxes become delinquent, penalties and interest are added to the unpaid amount, increasing the total owed. If the taxes remain unpaid, the taxing authority may take legal actions such as placing a lien on the property, initiating a tax sale, or proceeding with foreclosure to recover the debt, which could eventually result in overages and surplus funds. 6. Resolution. Property owners can resolve overdue taxes by negotiating installment plans to pay off the debt gradually. Additionally, if a property owner believes the assessment is inaccurate, they have the option to appeal and request an adjustment to the assessed value. Understanding property tax payments and fiscal years. 1. What is a fiscal year? A fiscal year is a 12-month period used by businesses or governments for accounting and budgeting purposes. Unlike the calendar year, which runs from January 1st to December 31st, a fiscal year can begin and end in any month, depending on the organization's needs. Fiscal years are often chosen to align with business cycles, seasonal activities, or administrative convenience, enabling a more accurate reflection of financial performance and tax obligations. For example, a fiscal year starting in July runs from July 1st to June 30th of the following year, while one starting in October spans from October 1st to September 30th of the next year. 2. How does this affect property tax payments? Property tax payments are typically aligned with the local government's fiscal year, rather than the calendar year, meaning that tax bills, due dates, and payment schedules are tied to this fiscal period. As a result, property taxes may be due at times that differ from what might be expected based on the calendar year. For example, if the local government's fiscal year begins in July, property tax bills may be issued and due according to that timeline, rather than the calendar year's schedule. Many people mistakenly believe that property taxes always follow the calendar year, but this is not true. Property taxes are often aligned with the fiscal year set by the local government or municipality. Understanding property tax installments. 1. What are property tax installments? Property tax installments are scheduled payments that allow property owners to spread their annual property tax obligations across the year rather than paying the entire amount in one lump sum. This system is designed to ease the financial burden by dividing the tax bill into smaller, more manageable amounts, helping property owners budget effectively and maintain better cash flow. 2. How many installments are there in a year? The number of property tax installments in a year varies depending on the municipality, county, or state where the property is located. Common payment schedules include quarterly payments, with 4 payments due every 3 months, such as in January, April, July, and October. Semi-annual payments involve 2 payments due every 6 months, for example, in January and July, while an annual payment consists of 1 payment due on a specific date, like April 15th. Some jurisdictions also offer monthly installments, which are often available for businesses managing multiple properties. A common misconception is that property tax schedules are uniform across jurisdictions. In reality, payment timelines and installment options vary widely, emphasizing the importance of verifying local regulations. In summary, understanding the foreclosure process isn't just about knowing the basics. It's about mastering the nuances, debunking misconceptions, and leveraging key insights to overcome challenges, especially when working with overages. From understanding state-specific laws to distinguishing between tax liens and deeds, every detail empowers you as an asset locator. By tackling these misconceptions head-on, you'll build the confidence and skills to achieve exceptional results in your business. And with our Done For You program, we take it a step further by handling the heavy lifting, like Overages public records research, so you can focus on growing your business and reaching your goals faster.